Badgers fans are definitely not over, are definitely are overreacting to this one thing.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this community. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings. Thank you for rejoining. If you were just here a second ago, I started a stream and I had to stop it. So I apologize for that. We had somebody just come over to the house kind of randomly. So all good, but appreciate you being here. Thank you for being a part of this community. Today's episode brought to you by Mazda. Like every player, Mazda sweats every single detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Community show. Really do appreciate everybody tuning in. And again, if you were just here, we had to restart it because we had somebody kind of coming over and they were kind of having like their own kind of shindig. I think they were coming over to maybe invite me over, but I'm here with you guys. We're having our own shindig and I didn't invite them to this one. So it's kind of weird. It's whatever. They're great people. I live in a great area, actually. But we are back. We are back uninterrupted. So today's episode, I want to start here. And I would love anyone's take on this. And then I have a bunch of comments from the YouTube channel. So I brought those in. I like doing these community shows because really it's one of the best ways to get the community, to get you guys involved. So let me start here, though. I think this is just a massive overreaction I've been starting to see among Badger fans, among maybe even some national pundits. I think it was ESPN Wisconsin. And I want to make a point that this is not a shot at them whatsoever. But they posted a question, is the Wisconsin job still attractive? And like 76% of Wisconsin fans said yes, and like 24% said no. First of all, to me, that's just a crazy question to begin with. Yes, of course, it's still attractive. And the fact that a quarter of Wisconsin fans said, no, I don't think this is really an attractive job anymore, tells me this is just a massive overreaction. Listen, this is a massive overreaction. And it's been terrible. Like there's a comment up here I'm going to bring up. This is from Lenny Dimes, who's on our YouTube channel. This is from a recent show, and he just said, Ryan sounds broken. I don't know even what episode that was off of, but like it's hard to be a Wisconsin fan right now because Wisconsin's been good my entire life. I don't fully understand how to even grasp it. It's like, if you are in the 24th century, it would be hard to grasp the United Federation of Planets not being the good guys. They've been good your whole life. If you're a Star Trek fan, you probably get that. If you're not, I'm so sorry for nerding out for a second. But my point is, it's hard for me to even understand fully and put my finger on why Wisconsin is so bad right now. However, let's not be crazy people and completely overreact. Yes, this is an insanely attractive job. If this job were to open up tomorrow, there would be qualified candidates tripping over themselves to get to Madison. Don't let anything fool you. Don't let this couple years of really mediocre at best to awful football at times trip you up. Wisconsin's in the Big Ten. There's two conferences that really matter and a couple other schools. It's SEC, Big Ten, and then like Clemson, Miami, Notre Dame. Like there's a couple that you would lump into that. That's it. That's what matters in college football. There's 138 D1 programs. Then you have D2, you have JUCO. Bro, this is an insanely attractive job. It's in Madison. It's in one of the most beautiful towns in America. It has history. It has pedigree. It's at one of the wealthiest universities. Like Wisconsin, people, do we always spend it as much as fans want them to? No, but Wisconsin is not UCLA broke. Wisconsin has money. They have influence. They have history. They have 30 damn years of good football to fall back on. They have a good basketball program, which means they have success in both the major revenue sports. They're in the Big Ten. Must I say that again? They have Heisman Trophy winners, like plural. Like it's a massively attractive job if this thing's opened up. And I'm just seeing these overreactions. Don't let a couple bad years turn you into like Wisconsin is still like, what's the dating scene? Wisconsin isn't suddenly a homely kid that can't get a date to prom. Okay. If this job were to open up, it would be insanely attractive. And I mean, for people who maybe don't know this about me, for a while I was coaching basketball and I worked really hard to get into it. And then, when a family comes and kids come, schedules get hard. But I eventually got into the Division III level. And let me tell you, man, for coaches that want to move up and an opportunity at a Division I school, I'm just telling you, it is such an insanely attractive job to anybody. So I just think we're overreacting now. We're getting to the point where we can say this program as it currently is broken, that this coaching staff isn't the right coaching staff, that this team may not win another game this year. Don't let it get to the point where you think Wisconsin's a bad job. Because if this thing opens up and you're able to see the list of people that applied to this job, I mean, there's going to be heavy hitters from coordinators at Alabama type schools to former head coaches to people who are crushing it at the Division II level to people who are successful at Kansas. I'm just throwing random schools out there, right? This is an insanely attractive job. We need to stop overreacting and being crazy people just because the football team isn't very good right now. And it's true, it's not. And it's true that Lynn and Dimes, like he says on this comment, I do sound broken because I kind of am broken. I don't know how to grasp a bad football team at Wisconsin. But this is an insanely attractive job. Let's not be crazy. All right, let's get some comments. Okay, here. Will says he is back. Yeah, I apologize. I apologize for sure that I had to stop for a second. Will says, I thought you canceled the show when I jumped on. Never. Will says, yeah, this would be an attractive job if open for sure. Mitch, the top of the Big Ten, can play with anybody. Evan says, if we beat Michigan, my confidence level will go back to 8. Let's go. I can't wait. It's weird. It's weird how much I'm looking forward to the Michigan game, considering how badly we got beat down by Maryland. But I just have often said, I don't think you're ever as bad as your worst film. You're never as good as your best. I just want to wash it out of my mouth, the Maryland game. And the Michigan game's an opportunity for that. And I don't know if they will. In fact, I don't think they probably will, because I'm kind of done expecting them to. But I'm ready to get out there. I'm ready to see. It's hard to have a weekend without Badger football. JB says he'll take the job. There you go, JB. Appreciate you, brother. Mitch says Wisconsin is not as bad as it feels. They'll play better. KBP says Tyler brings up the biggest problem, what is hurting the program. Let's go see what Tyler brought up. Tyler Strieber, friend of the show. But Ryan, didn't you see all the numbers that came out with how UW compares to the rest of the Big Ten in spending, NIL, support staff, etc.? What about this report is attractive? This is a great point. And Tyler's great people. Yeah, they don't spend money like they probably should, and they won't spend money like we think they should. However, that is not new. Wisconsin for 20 years was losing assistants because they didn't spend money. There was a great article, and this isn't to diminish this point. This is a really good point. But I remember a great article when Travis Frederick was in college, and he was talking about the Wisconsin Badgers facilities and comparing it to other facilities that he had seen around the Big Ten. And he said, yeah, the Wisconsin facility, it's not very good. And I'm paraphrasing, but our stuff is a little rusted. You can tell there's been work on it. And he was almost taking it as a badge of courage. Like, these things are beaten in, they're worn in, and we still do more with less. But my point in this isn't exactly a new problem. Wisconsin has never been among the top spenders, and it has limited them before, but it also hasn't limited them to the point of not being able to be competitive. This is still a team that I think, from what I've been told, I think is middle-ish of the pack in the Big Ten and NIL. I think they could do more. I wish they would do a little bit more. They don't have a big mega donor like some other schools. That does matter. Some schools just have a guy that'll come in, Illinois, Oregon, that'll come in and give $100 million. Wisconsin doesn't have that, and as it is presently constructed. But they spend enough to be better than they are. That's what I'd say. And when you factor everything else in, when you factor in the Big Ten, you factor in the facilities, building a new facility, you factor in Camp Randall, you factor in the history, you factor in that this is the only D1 school in a kind of a football crazy state. There's a lot going for Madison. And the last point I'll make I see a spider going in my back road. Holy crap. Do you guys see that? I don't know where it went. Doggone it. This show tonight is like crazy. It was just like flying across my background for a second there. I whacked at it. I don't know if I got it. Okay, let's move on. What was I saying? Oh, so the last point I'll make on Madison, on this job, how attractive it is, what it is. The last point I'll make here is 3 years ago, when Wisconsin now that was at the beginning of kind of this NIL era, but 3 years ago, Wisconsin certainly wasn't the school that anyone would go to and think that they were going to spend at the top of the market. And 3 years ago, this school was attractive enough to land the most desirable head coach on the market with Luke Fickell coming in. It's not crazy different now just because Luke Fickell hasn't succeeded. Everything that drew a coach of Luke Fickell's pedigree to Wisconsin is still here. It's still here. Like, it's an incredibly attractive job. And people need to realize how great of a job and opportunity it still is. And if this job opens up, whether it's this year, next year, the year after, or maybe never if Luke Fickell kind of turns it around. But if this job were to open up, you would see coaches trip over themselves to get to Madison. I can promise you that. All right, let's take a quick second. Bunch more comments coming up. Your comes from the YouTube show. Anything you want to talk about today, throw it in the chat. We'll get to it. Today's episode brought to you by our great friends over at Mazda. This episode is brought to you by Mazda, moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. There are moments that move crowds, they move culture, and they keep the game moving forward. For me, it was this weekend in Madison, or last weekend, in Madison, going to the game. And it wasn't the game that moved it forward. It was meeting the people there. It was meeting with Curtis Holland, and Justin was there, and we got to hang out with Zach Bartz and really good people. Got to meet Al, Jaron, like really good people. That's what moves the game forward, because that's what this community is about. It's about the incredible fans and the people around this program that keep you coming there, keep you tailgating, keep you being a Badger fan. Among the good or the bad times, those people in the community are always there. That's what moves the game forward. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Okay, let us take some comments from the YouTube section. Let's do it. Okay, this one is from Mike. He says, Hunter Simmons, please. Small sample, but I know I can see why he challenged for number 2. Bigger arm, quicker decisions, good pocket awareness. This last part I really like. Isn't bothered by face pressure. One of the things you see with our line, we talk a lot about the tackles. We talk about Mandel learning his way at right, Malman being okay-ish at left. A lot of pressure for Daniel O'Neal has actually come right up the gut, right? It's come up, whether that's been Kadenko, Corey getting reps. It's been the 2 guards that have moved around a little bit. Brunner not being quite as good as we expected this year, and Cub really feeling his way. That is a really good point. When you get that pressure right up the gut, Daniel O'Neal's instinct is to bail. Partially because I don't think he can see over it. He can't find passing lanes. So Danny doesn't always escape to run. He will escape to find passing lanes, whereas Hunter Simmons can still see. He's a little taller, right? He can find those passing lanes. Theoretically, he could stand in there to the pressure. Now, I do think if you go back, and this is where I said it on our postgame show, I want to make sure people don't take too much out of Hunter Simmons' garbage time reps against Maryland, in which he looked really good. He did what you should do in garbage time reps. They weren't getting after him like they were Danny O'Neal. So will he be bothered by face pressure when it continues to happen? I don't know, right? I don't think we can say that, but I do think there's the scenario where because of his size, because of his ability to find passing lanes, he does kind of have I'm overusing the word ability, but he does have the ability to see over some of that pressure, maybe deliver the ball. So I like that point, Mike. I just don't know if we can really say he's not going to be bothered by that pressure yet, because he hasn't had to play that full game, where a team has really gone after him. This one's from Dice. I like Grimes. He's done a good job play calling. Players can execute. So I think what Grimes has done on paper has made a lot of sense if he had a team of veteran guys. I like how he layers schemes, where, he does put a lot on a defense to diagnose and to figure out. But I don't think he's calling a game to a team that's best suited to execute it right now. This Badgers team is young, man. You got guys playing in brand new positions starting week 2 on the offense line. You have new quarterbacks, and now you're down to a backup quarterback, new tight end, new full-time starting running back. You have a new receiver flanking Vinny Anthony and Jaden Ballard. This team is young. And even the veterans haven't played a lot for the most part, like a guy like Jaden Ballard. Lance Mason hasn't played at this level. You have Malman as a veteran, Brunner. Renfro's been in and out. I think he's getting too exotic with the stuff. And I can understand what he wants to do, and it'd probably look great if he had a veteran team executing it, but we don't. Like my kid's bike riding would probably look a lot better if he was a few years older, but he's not. So I'm not going to expect him to go out there and go down a massive hill. I think you got, it's almost like Grimes is calling advanced chemistry, and this team's play level right now is just that basic science. You have to scale it back, Dice. So I kind of disagree on this, but I appreciate the comment for sure. I just think he's a little over his skis. From Brett, bench Ricardo Hallman, ? Oh, I hate that we're even talking about this, because I'll tell you, by every single account, Ricardo Hallman is a great teammate, really good locker room influence. I've talked to Emilio Agard, who raves about him. He's a well-liked player, and he had 7 picks 2 years ago, and he was pretty good last year. But I'm telling you, If he doesn't play better, you have to. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a good guy and a senior if you're not playing well. And we're at the point of the season where, I mean, people are talking about, is this a good job? And should Luke Fickell keep his job the rest of the year? Like, are we going to win another game? Are we going to finish with 3 wins? We're past the point of you're a senior, you get to keep playing. You have to play well at this point to keep your job. And he's not. Like, here's some numbers. So I was, my buddy was doing some digging, right? Here's some numbers. Ricardo Hallman has given up the most receptions in FBS this year as the primary defender. The most receptions in FBS. When targeted, he is the 3rd worst QBR. So when quarterbacks are targeting him, he's the 3rd worst cornerback in college football. This is shocking. So completion percentage given up the last 3 years. In 2023, when teams targeted Ricardo Hallman, he gave up 44% completion percentage. That's awesome. Like, that's really, really good. Last year's up to 52%. He's giving up 72% completion percentage this year. Again, listen to this. In 2023, when he had those 7 picks and he was really good, it was 44%. When quarterbacks targeted him, 44% completion percentage. That went from 44 in 23 to 52 in 24 to 72% in this 25. He's given up a 72% completion percentage. You can't keep playing that. Either he needs to play better, the coaches need to put him in a spot where he plays better, or someone else needs to play. It's as simple as that. And I don't put it all on Rico at all. Like, the pass rush needs to get better. We've had injuries in the safety spot. You know, Preston Zachman is a big loss, and maybe they're using Rico as a bit of a hybrid corner safety, playing him back a little bit because he is playing a lot of soft zone. Maybe they're using him as a bit of a safety valve for the secondary to make sure big plays aren't happening. But I'm grasping, guys. I'm grasping. He's given up more receptions in college football than any other defender, any other cornerback right now when they're the primary defender. Like, the numbers are the numbers. He's got to play better or you can't play him. I hate saying that because I'm not a guy who likes calling for jobs. Got to play better. You got to play better. So, Brett, to your question of benching Ricardo, if he doesn't play better, you got to. Because otherwise, it's at this point almost an automatic completion, and it's just not good enough. Let's go back to some of these comments here. Aaron Lowe says, in the NCAA, what is the position of Wisconsin? Top 30 to top 20 to 30 range for jobs? Sorry, I tripped over that question, but basically asking where Wisconsin the job rank in NCAA? I mean, it's definitely a top 30 job. And I didn't actually go through this like line by line which job is better, but you know, between the SEC and the Big Ten, there's 36 schools. Please, someone forgive me if I'm a school or 2 off, but I think 36 schools between the Big Ten and the SEC. And then you add in a Notre Dame, a Clemson, Florida State, Miami, you're up to about 40. I mean, Wisconsin's a better football job than Rutgers, Maryland, Vanderbilt, I would say Northwestern. I think it's a better job than Iowa. I think it's a better job than Michigan State. I think it's a better job. Like, you can go down the list and find, I think between the Big Ten and the SEC, 6 to 10 jobs where I think Wisconsin's better. So I think top 30. I don't think it's a top 20 job. I think it's a top 30 job, though, in college football. I truthfully do. And again, 3 years ago, you went and got the biggest prize on the market. You don't do that if this job isn't incredibly attractive. So I would say top 30, maybe top 25. Matt says it's not just been a couple of bad years. And Mogul says it's not a couple of bad years. The Rose Bowl is a long time ago. I mean, 2017, they won an Orange Bowl. They won 12 games. 2018, 2019 were like, I understand it's certainly the ceiling hasn't been hit in a couple of years, but the Nebraska Cornhuskers went like 8 years without making a bowl game. So I for a long time, always really prided the Badgers on consistently being at least solid. And I don't think solid is ever bad. So I think to me, it has just been a couple of bad years because the years before that they were okay. They were solid. And solid defined by a winning record, solid defined by you go to a bowl game, solid defined by you're not a laughingstock. They weren't great, but again, it's not that long ago where Wisconsin won 12 games, went to a Rose Bowl. It's not that long ago when you had Jonathan Taylor on this team. So I would probably push back a little bit. I think it has, to me, and this is only my opinion. I always say this on the show. This is only my opinion. It doesn't make it the right one. But to me, it has just been a couple bad years. The preceding years were mediocre, solid, but they weren't bad. KBP says, if they have money, why aren't they using it? I think some of it is for lack of a better term, Wisconsin donors don't always see ROI. They don't always. Wisconsin business guys are pretty smart. And listen, this is not me. I'm not a Wisconsin business guy. I didn't go to Wisconsin. I couldn't have got in there. I'm a dummy, right? But there's really smart people that come out of Wisconsin with money, and a lot of them don't see ROI on football games, right? There's not an ROI there for them. I also think you need to win games. If you win games, you will spend more money. You will unlock. If you unlock excitement. By the way, this is what our arcades have figured out. This is what amusement parks have figured out. This is what zoos and safaris. If you unlock excitement, you will unlock wallets. And I think that's true in football too. You know, what happened when Indiana Signetti came in and he started winning? He unlocked wallets at a basketball school, right? If you win, if you prove that you can play well, I think you're going to unlock some more money. That's just kind of how it works. If you come in and you look terrible, you get beat by 32 to Iowa, you get housed by Maryland, you're not going to get more money. That's not how it works. And it's probably not how it should work, to be honest. JB says Starfleet for life, live long and prosper. Yes, sir. Although I was much more of, I was definitely a Picard Next Generation guy. Okay, let's keep going here. More thoughts, questions. JB also says Fickle will be here until 2026. It's senseless talk. Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere for a little bit of time here. Will says, successful or not, Fickle was a prime candidate who chose us. Bill says, I wouldn't mind if they were talking to McCarthy about the job. I would not want McCarthy, although for the purpose of my podcast and the clicks I could generate off McCarthy, I would not hate it because that would be podcasting gold. Mark Hallman, friend of the show, says, Ryan continues to deny. Yeah, I probably do. I mean, listen, Mark, I don't know what to tell you. Part of it is I don't think I just can't see Fickle being fired this year, and I think he's here next year. So part of me is trying to find the path forward with Luke Fickle for another year because I don't think he's going anywhere regardless. But I probably am more of the optimistic type, and maybe I need a reality check. I don't know. Again, these are just my opinions. I don't ever tell anyone how to think. So if you think I just continue to deny, you're probably right. Ultimately, we all want the same thing, which is a good program in Wisconsin and a winning program. And that might mean Luke Fickle needs to move on because what he's done in 3 years hasn't been good enough. So, all right, let's pause there. We need to come back for friends of the show, but I have a bunch more content from the YouTube comments as well I want to get into. Plus, if you have any other thoughts, throw those in the YouTube chat as well, or in this chat as well. First, let's take a quick break for our friends of the show. And as always, a quick second to say thank you for tuning in to Locked On Badgers. Thank you for being a part of this community. I really do appreciate every one of you. Today's episode is brought to you by DoorDash. And if you are a longtime listener to this show, which thank you, by the way, if you are. And if you're not, thank you as well. If you're a longtime listener to the show, you probably remember my story about putting sugar into burgers because I thought that was like part of the recipe. And then my friend like spitting it out, essentially. He's like, dude, what did you do? I'm like, I put sugar in it. He's like, why? No. If you had just gone to DoorDash, man, you would have been fine. You wouldn't have got my sugar burger. You'd have good food delivered to your place. And with DoorDash Streaks, this is a great time. You can save money because DoorDash Streaks delivers every Saturday. You stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply, our promo period through 11/18. Today's episode also brought to you by our great friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Caffeine just got an upgrade. Let's go. Listen, we're upgrading all sorts of things in life. We are upgrading our caffeine with 5 Hour Energy. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee plus B vitamins. You need those. Nutrients, need those. Zero sugar, zero crashes. What I love most, honestly, is how portable they are. You just go into the gas station, get your beef jerky, get whatever. Get that 5 Hour Energy, throw it in your backpack, your fanny pack, whatever you're rocking. Fanny packs are cool. However you're doing, get around campus. That 5 Hour Energy will be there to help you fire through the rest of your day, whether it's a work day, a day on campus, whatever it is. No crash, no sugar. It's absolutely awesome. Great flavors. Right now, enough with the boring flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with the 5 Hour Energy shots. Get your favorites you love, or be bold. Try something a little different. Go into the store on Amazon.com or www.5hourenergy.com today. Okay, let's get... I definitely want to bang on some more of these YouTube comments. Let's do that. This is from NWL. Ryan will never be out on Fickle. Blah, blah, blah. Same old, dot. That's how I imagine NWL reading that in his head. blah, 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 same old, same old. No, I will be. Like, listen, I don't want to be, and I'm sorry if I'm stubborn on this one. I will be like, if he doesn't get better, I will, because eventually there's not going to be a choice. I don't think you're there 2.5 years in where you can't still think there's a chance this could turn around. Am I crazy on that? I don't think. Listen, I want to see what happens out of this bye week, which brings up the Forest Day. Friend of the show says the result of this bye week could be the most telling sign of the season. If they slump again after this, they likely won't win another game. I did a show recently where I said it's really getting tough to find the path forward, like really hard. I need to see how they respond after this. Has got to be the most embarrassing game of the Fickle era. I think it's worse than 24-7 Minnesota. I think it's worse than 42-10 Iowa. I think this is the worst game. I think this is it. I think losing to a Maryland team at home, you're a 10-point favorite, knowing what's coming up, this is almost a must win. I need to see, and then you had a bye week to regroup. I need to see how they respond. And I want to see them come out fighting. I want to see them come out in the first quarter in Michigan. It's 3-0. It's 3-3. If it's 14-0, they have another slow start. I might be out. That might be it. To NWL's question, Ryan will never be out. That might be it. But I want to see how they respond. I want to see what it looks like coming out of bye week, because I still want to believe in this program. And there's a lot of young players who I think are talented. And I still think there's something here. I really do. And again, I always say, it's just my opinion. It doesn't make it the right one, but yeah. L said, I didn't boo, nor would I ever, but I understand the fans' frustration, so I don't really blame them. I think Barry's response was just a gut reaction to defend his former team like a father. That's from L. I think that's a good comment there, especially on the Barry point. I think he was just defending. Leland says, how is it bad call to put Billy out there to play? It's the medical staff that determines if he's healthy enough to play or not. They wouldn't put him out there if there was not a high risk. Yeah, I push back on this one, Lee. And again, thank you for the comment. And for everybody, thank you for the comments. I push back a little bit on this one, because I think if you listen to what Luke Fickell had to say during the week, or after his presser after the Maryland game, he said they didn't really push him 100% in practice. So I think there was already a little bit of an element of they couldn't have been sure he was fully ready. And then I thought their game plan to play two quarterbacks was just silly. I've said it a couple times. Either Billy's healthy enough, and if he's a guy, you just play him, or if he's not healthy enough that you think you have to rotate Danny O'Neal in, then you don't play Billy, because a two quarterback system doesn't work. I don't think it helps Danny, if he's going to play, he needs every rep he's going to get. And if Billy's not healthy enough, if Billy's healthy enough, you just give him every rep. So to me, the fact they were planning on rotating quarterbacks tells me they knew he wasn't fully healthy and that it was probably risky. And if it's risky, you just give Danny all the reps, in my opinion. I just thought that was handled really poorly. Again, I am fully capable of being wrong on this, but that's just kind of my gut take on it, is they handled that quarterback rotation pretty poorly. And the fact that they were rotating guys and planned on it tells you they didn't think Billy was fully ready to go. Just my opinion. DWS says, you're wrong on Curtis. This is a comment about Tackett Curtis, who I said, I like some of his run defense, but I think they need to start working Mason Poston a little bit more. DWS says, been the highest scored linebacker 2 of 4 weeks. I'm guessing that's PFF. Been the best guy against the run this season. We went from giving up 150 yards on the ground to less than 50. Curtis Allegro, front four, has a lot to do with that. I think it's a very fair comment. Curtis Allegro, Tackett, or Christian Allegro, Tackett, Curtis have been a big part of this rush defense along with that front four. I think that's a fair comment. I'm not saying, I want to be clear, I'm definitely not saying you bench Tackett Curtis. I'm saying I would just like to see them work Mason Poston in a little bit more, because I think his athleticism helps you get to the edge, helps you contain some quarterbacks. He's definitely a better defender in pass coverage up to this point this year. So it's not a knock on Tackett Curtis. I just think Mason Poston athletically maybe gives you a little more juice that you need. Will H, love Wisconsin, but recruiting wise, what is the pitch for the football program right now? Possible early Power 5 playing time, which could turn into NIL at other schools. I've said this a lot. I'll just go back to a point I made. Like, salesmen sell, and you sell what you can sell. So if your team's not very good, you sell playing time. You sell you sell, hey, you're going to be the guy that turns it around. You can come here and you can put your stamp on this program, early playing time. And I'll also say this, the win-loss results on the field don't factor as much into recruits' decisions as I think fans think it should. Fans live or die with wins or loss. That's what we do, right? But recruits are thinking about their relationship with their positional coach, other players in the class they're tight with, how they're going to be used at Wisconsin. There's a lot more that goes into it than the win and loss. So I don't actually think, certainly it helps when you win, make no mistake. But I don't think it's the be all end all that sometimes fans think it will be. Rob S., the love story of Ryan and Steven Crowell continues. Yes, sir. This was a comment the other day where I again pointed out that Badger fans are going to miss Steven Crowell, and I will again point out that Badger fans are going to miss Steven Crowell. All right, let's see what else we got in our chat section here. Mark, Fickle has hurt this program more than before he got here. Ryan blind and refuses to see it. I mean, it feels like you just got a bone to pick with me at this point, Mark. Like, why are you upset with me? Again, like I told you where I'm at. You can feel free to disagree. Like, you're clearly out, and that's great. Like, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. It feels like at this point, though, you just got a bone to pick if this is every comment you have. Let's keep going here. Mitch says, I remember when even the Blue Bloods, Michigan, Ohio State were down. It's cyclical. Unfortunately, we're going through it now. That's a good point. You can go back to, those Bielema Big Ten title runs. Obviously, some of those schools were down. Michigan was down for kind of a 3-coach period, right? After who was the longtime Michigan coach that retired? I forget. But then they went to I'm forgetting all coaches' names now. But they had Rich Rod, and then they went to the Michigan man, and then eventually they got to Harbaugh. But yeah, they had like a 8-year period where Michigan wasn't Michigan. Penn State had a bit of a couple hiccups there. Ohio State was down for a bit. Yeah, these things come and go. I don't know if Wisconsin should ever get down to this point, though. This is a really good point from Jan. There may be a bunch of highly qualified coaches, but picking the right one is not a sure thing. Yeah, and that's an excellent point. And you could go right back to our previous couple coaching decisions, right? You had the moment where Brett Bielema left in the middle of the night. I think you would argue that Barry Alvarez probably picked the right guy when he picked Brett Bielema. Bielema left. We went to Gary Anderson, who was clearly not the right guy, despite everything he did for this program. And I've said several times, Badger fans are too hard on Gary Anderson, but he clearly wasn't the right long-term fit for this program. So they didn't probably pick the right guy there. Brought in Paul Chryst. Was Paul Chryst the right guy? I think you would get a myriad of responses to that, right? Early Paul Chryst did really well, righted the ship, got to the Orange Bowl, had a lot of success. Late term Paul Chryst, fluctuations in the power matrix, right? It was going downhill. So was he the right decision? Comparatively to what we have now, probably. Was Luke Fickell the right decision? Probably not. Again, to be completely honest, when you look at what we have now. So yeah, it does come down to picking the right guy. It is a really, really good question, or a really good point. Bill says, I left the game early. I couldn't take it anymore. What was the final score anyway? Yeah, that about sums up. 27-10 with a garbage touchdown by Wisconsin to make it actually closer than it was. Raul says, Hunter Simmons is a modern Joel Stave. Will he lead us to a win against Michigan? I don't think so. I would love him to, but no, I don't think so. He's not quite as big as Stave. I don't think he even has quite the arm Stave has, to be completely honest. But let's really quickly talk Hunter Simmons, because I liked what I saw in Platteville. I talked about it on the show. He does deliver a pretty nice ball. He stands in the pocket. He had a couple pretty successful games it was Southern Illinois. I think he was the first quarterback there that had back-to-back 300-yard games in either their history or in a long period of time. They did like him. Like, he was a pretty solid quarterback at that level. Came here because he had a connection with a coach that came across. Now, I'm blanking on the coach's name. But they had a bit of an inside track the Badgers did on Hunter Simmons, so they liked him. They had an inside track on him. They had a good feel on him, and he looked good in Platteville. So I don't think it's a lost cause that he starts at Michigan, but I do think the pass rush is going to give him a lot of trouble. Evan Malone says top 15 job for Wisconsin. JB says not top 15, but top 30. Will Hannah says top 20-ish. I think that's accurate. I mean, I said like top 25-ish. Again, this is a great job. And seeing polls of, is this job still attractive? Dude, this job is so attractive. Like, I'll even take it a step further. Any Division I head coaching job is pretty attractive. People have no idea how hard coaches grind just to get to the Division I level, the type of things they're willing to do just to get onto a D1 staff. So if a Big Ten job opened up tomorrow, bro, like, so many people would want it. It is such an attractive job. Again, like the fact that that conversation's happening is nonsense to me. Evan says Fickle couldn't even coach well at OSU. TJ24 says next week will prove a lot. Let's see what else is going here. I'm not going to be able to get to every comment and question. JB says not top 20. Every SEC job is better. Half the Big Ten than FSU. Yeah, like I said, I think it's like top 25-ish. Kyle Matry, good. This is a good question. Maybe one to end on. Kyle says, how are they going to improve in this era without the wallets getting on board? It's a very fair question. What I would say is you have to at least play to the level of the money that is being spent. And what I mean by that is this team is spending enough money not to be beaten 27-10 to Maryland. You have to get competent like before you can worry about how are we going to maximize the NIL on the roster, because we're getting punts blocked and kicks blocked. That has nothing to do with NIL. Like that's coaching. That's either coaching or lack of attention. That's not talent and that's not NIL. Getting beat 27-3 is not NIL against Maryland. Against Alabama, sure, maybe against Michigan State, against Ohio State, Oregon. Getting housed at home against Maryland is not an NIL thing. We spend plenty enough money to beat Maryland at home. I think the issue is we've had some injury luck, poor luck. That is a thing that matters. But there hasn't been enough development. There hasn't been enough coaching. There hasn't been the best use of those resources. Again, I talked about it in the offseason. I think they should have brought in another offensive lineman, and then maybe you're not in the spot on the offensive line you're in right now. So I think there's a lot of other things before we have to worry about. And Kyle, this is a super fair point, so I'm not trying to be dismissive of it, but I think there's a lot of other things that need to get addressed before we worry about we need to maximize our wallets, because right now we're almost like a bad consumer. You know, we're like a guy who has a credit card that maxed it out and he's just saying, give me more money. And his parents are like, well, you blew all the money you got, and the product, what you got with that money it's crap. There's nothing there. We're not going to give you more money. I think that's kind of almost where Wisconsin's at right now, is we haven't managed the resources that we've got very well. This is not a good enough result from the money being spent on this program. So if you don't fix that, then more money isn't going to fix you. It's like almost like what are some Major League Baseball teams? Like a couple years ago, the Mets maxed out their money. They bought a bunch of dudes and they didn't make the playoffs, you know, because they didn't spend it wisely. If you spend money poorly, more money is just going to be more money spent poorly. So bit of a rambling response there. And it is a super fair question, but I just don't think that we've maximized what we've gotten. And I think that's what you got to start with. You got to do better with what you've got. Jonathan Hess says dollars is a huge factor in today's NIL era. We have to spend. I think that's easy to see. Ryan, we spend money on FIC, not on players. We spend money on players too. Like we do. I'm telling you, it. And John, I missed. Yeah, it's a super fair point. But I'm telling you, like we spend money on players too. We don't spend at Oregon's level, certainly Ohio State's level. I don't think we're not in the basement of the Big Ten and NIL. I'll tell you that. And that's based on some conversations and we're not in the basement in NIL. So the idea that we can't be better than Maryland, I just don't buy it. I don't buy that our NIL is at a point where it was inevitable that Maryland was going to do that to us. There's more talent on this roster than that. And I have a hard time putting my finger on exactly what's happening, but it's not as, I don't think the NIL situation is as bad as fans think it is. It's not great, but I don't think it's as bad as fans think it is. Okay. Let's wrap it on Wisconsin. Appreciate y'all so much as always. Locked on meetup for Iowa. I would love to see a bunch of people there. We get together, we drink beer, we talk Badgers. It's always an awesome time. On Wisconsin, we will definitely be back tomorrow. Got a couple 26 recruits coming up, which is going to be a ton of fun. Got another couple journalists coming up, which is always going to be a ton of fun. So always great content coming up on Locked On Badgers. Appreciate you being here. As always, on Wisconsin, let's get better this week, and hopefully we come out and we play with Michigan. That would be a big step forward.